My salutations to you, O flame of the auspicious Lamb. May you bestow health, wealth, and happiness on all of us.
Shatru buddhi vinashaya Deepa Jyoti Namostute Deepa Jyoti Namostute.
You destroy the intellect of the enemy, O bright flame of the Lamb. My salutations to you.
Deepa Jyoti Para Brahma Deepa Jyoti Janardana.
O fortunate flame, you are universe. O guiding flame, you are Lord of the Lords.
Deepo hartu me papaha Deepa Jyoti Namostute Deepa Jyoti Namostute.
O felicitous flame, please seize my sins. O flame of the auspicious Lamb, my salutations to you.
Shubham karotu kalyanam Arogyam dhana sampadaha Shatru buddhi vinashaya Deepa Jyoti Namostute Deepa Jyoti Namostute. Shubham karotu kalyanam Arogyam dhana sampadaha Deepa Jyoti Para Brahma Deepa Jyoti Janardana. Deepo hartu me papaha Deepa Jyoti Namostute Deepa Jyoti Namostute. Om.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Happy days are really here. Our choir had a lovely rendition just now. We must really be very, very fortunate to be here together. The schools that most of you have left behind in the Nilgiris and in Coimbatore are also celebrating happy days. It's always great to have the principals out of the campus. And I'm sure those vibes are around that campus, all in the Nilgiris as well as off to Metropolium and Coimbatore. So we are a dreadful breed of people, nasty, hated, best avoided. Somebody would say the dinosaurs from the deep, or all kinds of weird, horrible adjectives that students and perhaps members of the staff also use. But then, let me tell you, there's so much unity here today. And on behalf of our lovely school, the Lawrence School, Lovedale, I'd like to welcome each one of you. It's been a long journey for some of you, all the way up from the plains. And we really appreciate the fact that you have made it to Lovedale. So we have this very vast campus, unlimited, almost unimaginable in size, 710 acres. The campus also has no boundaries in terms of a fencing or a boundary wall. So we are open. We are open to just about everything, both from the school to the outside world, from the outside world to the school. And this little emphasis brings us to the idea of learning. Our learning is also unlimited, and our school system values that boundaryless existence because it gives you complete freedom. And of course, with that freedom, responsibility. With that responsibility, a lot of trust and a lot of faith in everyone who resides here. So, this large hall is really an old building. We take a lot of pride in coming up here for our assemblies and for our other events. Very eminent people have been addressing gatherings here right from the times of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru to Indira Gandhi to, of course, several other leaders of our country and abroad. But to have a distinguished gathering such as this, principals more than 27, if I have not been told accurately, are here, and never ever has this large hall had such honorable gathering of so many eminent educationists. It's a pleasure to have all of you up here. And if you recall, as you walked in, there was this lovely Shah welcoming you to Lovedale. The next few hours are going to be spectacular. And I'm sure if I say less, it would be better, because let's discover the moments that are to come by. I would like to introduce the team that's been putting this program together. We have our Deputy Headmistress, Mrs. Chanda Joshi. Could you just put your hand up? And we have our HR consultant and career counselor, Mr. Karthikeyan. We also have the school bursar, Colonel Thota, and two deans who've been working very hard to get it all together, Mrs. Sujata Ganeshan. She must be busy tying up something outside there. And the other dean, Mr. Govindraju. We have our maths HOD who's helped as well, Mr. Suresh. We've got two very special, privileged guests from school who are invitees here. Mr. Joseph John, who's going to talk to us about what he does in our school, and another very interesting personality, Mr. Arun Agnihotri. And of course, by and by, we would want you to be up here, and you are requested to introduce yourselves. I must also add that we have the HOD English, Mr. Thomas George, who is putting things into a briefing for our own future reflective learning, as we call it. We've also had our student council, the head boy, the head girl, the vice head girl, as I can see them there, and of course other volunteers who've been kind enough to help us in this program. Some more principals would be coming. Maybe they are a little late, but we have information that they will be coming and will be taking part in our program. So, the Economic Times, the ET Discover Tomorrow workshop commences straight away, and we'd like all of you to be involved, to be interacting any which way you decide. But basically, we're going to share our mind, and we are going to be all learners in a classroom, although it's here in the large hall. I would like to introduce the person, Mrs. Ashish Garg, who has been responsible for a larger movement in collaboration with Economic Times. Of course, she will let you know, futurist. That's a wonderful designation to have, has a lot of meaning, and obviously takes you into the future. She studies and identifies new and emerging trends in education. We're really lucky, Ashish, to have you with us this afternoon. A former member of the United Nations ICT Task Force, she sits on the board of UNESCO's Open Knowledge Community, RICO India Limited, and the Northeast Development Foundation. She is the chair of the advisory board of the Economic Times Education Initiative, Future of Learning. She is the keynote speaker at the Economic Times Education Conferences. called Future of Learning 2014-2016, a 2-year program, and the ET Discover Tomorrow workshops. She spearheaded the creation of India's first national policy on ICT in education and led the development of the Rajasthan Education Initiative, a multi-stakeholder in education. This has been a partnership with the government of Rajasthan. It has also included the World Economic Forum and the Confederation of Indian Industry. She was the chair of Bloomberg UTV's inaugural ICT Education Conference, an invited speaker to national and international forums, including the World Summit for Information Society, WSIS Geneva, the World Economic Forum, WEF, Paris, World Bank, and UN, with meets being organized in Asia, Africa, and Europe. She also serves on the jury of several ICT and education awards. It's a great honor to have Mrs. Ashish Garg with us, and also her husband, Mr. Ravinder Garg, who is the Regional Director for South Asia, Middle East, and Africa of a company called Envision. Well, both of them have been very closely and passionately involved with education today and education for tomorrow. I would now like to invite Mrs. Ashish Garg to come on to our stage and begin with the session, guide us through this program so that each of us walk away from Lovedale with a wonderful learning experience. We could receive her up on stage with a little ovation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you so much for making the trip this afternoon to be here with us. Mrs. Chima spoke a lot about some of the stuff that I have been doing, and thank you very much, but I beg to differ only on one point, and that is about me guiding a room full of principals. Woe on me to be ever in a position to do that. So except for that, I think everything else works well. So I'm not going to take much time because I'm cognizant of the fact that you have a long drive back to your respective cities. So I'm going to dive in to the workshop right away. And before I do that, I'm going to give you a brief background about Discover Tomorrow Progressive Principles Workshop. I'm going to talk a little bit about the structure that we would like to follow this afternoon, and then we will have an interactive session. So I'll do what most people would like to do, is ask the backbenchers to please come up front, if I might do that. Let's have a more cohesive feeling about this distinguished gathering here this afternoon. It's a very interactive session. I'm here basically to learn from each one of you, to hear what interesting things you have been doing in your school. This afternoon at lunch, I was talking to someone and I said, one of the good things about working with schools is that no matter what trend, emerging or already emerged trend you talk about, there is a school down the line that has already done it. So the purpose of the Discover Tomorrow workshop primarily is to collate your work, your understanding, who can share and who feel passionately about India's education. So thank you, Mrs. Chima, for having us here. And the Discover Tomorrow Progressive Principles Workshop is actually based on the Discover Tomorrow Trend Compendium, and emerges, the Discover Tomorrow Trend Compendium emerges out of a lot of research, interactions, field visits, interviews, etc. that we have done. But I'm going to name few that have really helped us to evolve. Much of our research on scarcity of resources and climate change comes from the University of Minnesota, the Cornell University, and we also partner with TERI. So in the coming months, you will hear more about our work with TERI. The energy, TERI's Educating Youth for Sustainable Development is a new department that they have created, and we are doing a lot of interesting work in K-12 education with them, industries. So I'm going to quickly take you through the Discover Tomorrow Trend Compendium. And what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about one or two trends to begin with. I'm going to pose a couple of, the format is actually in 4 ways. So I talk about the current scenario. Point is more important or it is not important. And I want this to be a session where we are actually churning the education system around and trying to create valuable takeaway for policy recommendations. So without much ado, what I'd like to do is start with the trends. Is technology in the current education system? Do we really bother about educational outcomes, or are we in complete awe of technology? Is that what technology in education really means? That it becomes centerpiece and education actually takes a backstage. The second important issue for me is, and this afternoon at lunch somebody mentioned Ken Robinson's talk and said, he talks about how the current system of education was created for, at the time of the industry. The important thing here is, have these children changed just beyond what we see in terms of using technology? And the answer is yes. This is the very generation that is bold and focused, that is smart and confident, that is not afraid to take risks, that is happy to dust themselves up at any point in time and reinvent themselves, that are happy to take chances. If you look at several of the emerging startups in India alone, you will see that they have been able to actually identify almost 50% of the world's total information will be online. And almost 5 billion people on this planet will use the internet. We will have to teach our children the ethics of cyberspace and how ready are we to do that, and what are the parameters and the framework realized during my workshop at Vivek High School in Chandigarh, where Mrs. Singh talked in detail about how the school is actually involved in mindful, immersive learning experiences with the children. And to my mind, as we catch them young, we inculcate these habits in them. So we will have to also, at some point in time, teach our children to filter out the noise and to really look inwards so that we can become participating members of a dynamic young society. So, Karthik, would you pass the mic around, or I think maybe we can also hear. Maybe about cyberbullying, I think for me the important questions are, so if there is a case of cyberbullying that comes up to the principal, she does want to take an action against the child who's committed the crime. But that child gets away because he does not come under the Juvenile Justice Act. So all the other acts, when they were reformed, the IT Act 2000 created the reformations for all of that, but the Juvenile Justice Act still remains outside that. So my question, let me throw open a question. Do you think the current Juvenile Justice Act is justified? Does that help the school take a position, take a side? The school is mandated to create safe learning environments for every child. But does this kind of situation allow the school to do so or not?